Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board meeting for March 4th, 2025, as our police department enters the room. All right, and if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Lieutenant Foley, could you lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could remain standing for a moment of silence as we remember those who are fighting for our freedoms, and especially tonight, our first responders, as we will be recognizing them for the great job they do in our community, but we should keep them in our hearts and prayers every day. Thank you. Amen. Okay, introductions to my right.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Good evening, Luciana Howitt, Councilwoman.
Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Deputy Supervisor Sergio Esposito.
Councilman Patrick Murphy.
Councilwoman Susan Segal.
Town Attorney.
Town Attorney Adam Rodriguez.
Okay. Thank you. For report from the town, I don't have a lot today. We have some proclamations talking about some things coming up. I just want to remind everyone that we have quite a few groups working for our town and coming up. Our American Legion, and as we spoke about, our military and the Sons of the American Legion are doing a fundraiser for a St. Patrick's Day corned beef dinner. I think there was some information on that in my newsletter that you could click through if you get that. If not, you should be able to find it on the town website. And, I just want to thank all of our volunteer groups. There's a lot of work that goes into running the town, and we can't do it alone. And we've had a lot of people stepping up in those different areas, our planning board, our zoning, our Parks and Rec Commission. So thank you all for that work. And I'm going to just punt over to Luciana.
I thought you would speak about the Teen Center and their hoop challenge.
Well,
Do you remember what day it is?
It's the 7th.
I didn't put it on my list
think
yet.
it's the 14th or the 21st.
All right, so we'll get that one. Well, this morning I spied.
And if you ever saw me play basketball, you'd know why I don't talk about it.
Okay, well, they have K through third grade, 6th through 12th, and it's a way to just bring the kids together and kind of get used to being in the teen center so that they can use it as a tool to hold space for themselves, which I think is really neat. On top of that, this morning I spied my tulips fighting through the hard ground, which is, the proof of possibility. Chipotle is also hosting a Brookside PTA for the elementary school in town. It's helping them do some fundraisers for books in their library and getting all of these really neat, I call them these 3D printers where they can create their own 3D artwork. There is an essential service EMS petition going around that will go up to our Governor Hochul to see about what we can do to honor our first responders and support all of them and their safety. I will say that they are hiring for counselors and lifeguards, so please go on our Parks and Rec website and apply. If you were looking for a part-time job or you have a teen home that wants to work, there is a spot on there where you can click and you'll get Marissa. She will tell you what's available as a camp counselor and also how to support the pools. That's all.
Sergio, I'm sorry. The hoops contest is Friday, March 14th. It is at 6:30 for the middle school competition, 8 o'clock for the high school, and 8:30 for the adult competition for ages over 19. which I will not make. I forgot Sergio normally talks about the new businesses, but he was not able to make the last one. We had 50 Plus Training open. They are in the building right behind 7-Eleven and to the side of the diner, the old Padavani building, and we welcome them. It's personal training for those 50 and over. So I think a couple of the people in the room may qualify, including myself. So.
I'm gonna pass it to Pat real quick, and then I'll pick up after him.
All right, just the library yesterday started their seed exchange program. So you can go to the library. It's a great thing they do. It's really easy. You just go in there, you grab the seeds you want, get your ready for your garden. Also, they're going to have, like Luciana said, is that Chipotle is going to do a little fundraiser for Friends of the Library. That's going to be on March 8th, between 4 and 8. They're going to give 25% of the sales are going to go back to the Friends of the Library. So if you're out on March 8th, it'd be nice. Nice way to support them. It's easy, you know. And Ed, don't you have some of your? Oh, he's not
over
there.
here.
Oh, he's got, no. I'm like, okay. But over in the library, Ed has a very, very large collection of signed, autographed memorabilia. And how many no-hitters do you have over there out of the possibility?
I think I have 3 of the Yankees. There was one last 2 years ago that I didn't get. I have 3, 4, 5. I think we have 6 or 7 at least no-hitter autograph things.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, actually, perfect game. I'm sorry. So I have a bunch of no-hitters in there. We have most of the 78 team without Thurman Munson. And there are a lot of different balls. Like there's a Henry Kissinger ball. There's musicians. It's just an extensive autograph collection. They asked me if I would display it, so it's pretty cool,
impressive.
I think. And I see Miranda shaking her head back there. She saw some of it yesterday as well. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, no, it's good. So, and one last thing, the Elks is having their St. Patty's Day party this Sunday, and it's $25, and there'll be bagpipes there and food, and then coming up, you'll hear a couple times. March 10th, May 10th is the Fam Jam. It's a family event that has all blow-up toys. It's a very, very family-friendly event that's right down on Commerce Street. So, Serge?
Yeah,
Mike,
so the Fam Jam is coming up, and it's really a great event. I remember I was impressed because it was the first time I went to a street fair, and they had the giant-sized Jenga on a table, and kids are just around it. It just was such a community thing, and they donate their money to scholarships, right, for our kids furthering their community involvement. It's a really great event, and we'll be talking more about it. I just wanted to mention again, let me get the flyer here, I'm sorry. There's a NYSEG pop-up customer service event. It's here at Town Hall. It's Wednesday, March 12th, from 1 to 3 and from 5 to 7. Bring your complaints. Bring them, please, because what's going on with the electric prices is just ridiculous. I was at the Yorktown High School varsity basketball game against Greeley the other night, and what a game. And the kids played really well, and it was a back and forth, and they ended up prevailing, giving them a berth to go to the county center for the AA semifinals. That was tonight. That's why I was a little late. Not too late, but a little bit, a little late. Unfortunately, they lost tonight. It's the 3rd year in a row that they made it to the semis. So they're really great bunch of kids, great group of kids. And they lost tonight against Rye by like 2 points. It was an unbelievable game. But I wish them well. They played hard. And for many of them, I wish the seniors the best. This was their last go around with, high school basketball. So it kind of breaks my heart a little bit, but I wish them well, and they did a really, really fantastic job. Lastly, there is a grand opening coming up. It's this Saturday. Wipe Your Paws is opening up, and so we'll be there with the ribbon and the big scissors and all the hoopla for them, and we're gonna wish them well. Just another empty store filled, another business in town. And they just keep coming and coming, and we're very welcoming. Most of them are small businesses. We also have some national chains that have come in. Just further showing the appeal that Yorktown is having, out there in the business community. One last thing. What are you going to do Saturday night before you go to bed? You got to turn the clock forward. It's spring forward. We made it. We finally made it. I'm looking forward to a little more daylight. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it's almost the snow is almost gone. I hope Dave, you hear me? Oh,
I hear you.
No more snow, please. Okay. I just want to remind people that we have some vacancies on three of our advisory boards: Conservation, the Tree Advisory Commission, and the Community Housing Board. They're all very important. They're kind of low key, but very important. They're all serviced by volunteers, and they have openings. All three meet on Wednesdays in the evening. And you don't have to be a professional or have specific training in any of these areas. You just have to have an interest in either housing or any aspect of the environment and conservation. So if you're interested, send your resume to Lorraine, Ed's assistant, and her email address is on the supervisor's website page. And you can find out more information about what the boards do. They basically meet. Conservation meets once or twice a month, depends on the agenda. Housing and Tree Commission meet just once a month. So it's not a major commitment of your time, but it is a valuable service to the community. So I urge anybody who has any interest to, and they can also give me a call, and I can fill you in on what the committees do. Thank you.
Mr. Paganelli?
I have news. First, I had the pleasure of the company of the chief and the supervisor at the Read Across America Day up at the Hart Library. It was wonderful. Kids were awesome. Chief read The Bad Seed, which I thought was kind of appropriate. And Ed read Green Eggs and Ham, and I read The Little Blue Truck. So that was wonderful.
Oh, that's cute.
Also, while I have a lot of our police department here, I would be remiss if I didn't extend my gratitude for the excellent job and the thought with respect to taxpayers of when they got their new radios, we were gifted, shall we say that, gifted their prior radios as well as their portables. And to show you how something like that can go, we have them all installed in our truck. Last storm was awesome. We had great communication. The portables are working out well. And one step further down the road, the Yorktown Ambulance Corps needed 6 portables. So we were fortunate enough to be able to give them 6 portables because of the largesse of our police department. So thank you. Appreciate that. All right. And I'd also like to give a shout out to the controller's office. Okay, particularly Sandra. As you'll see later on the agenda, we have a $124,000 transfer from our fund balance into a line because our 6,000-gallon diesel tank failed. So, of course, to take it down and replace it, the initial quotes were $134,000. Sandra went through it line by line, piece by piece, and the end result is what you see on the transfer this evening, $124,000. So I know a lot of people say, oh my gosh, you got to jump through hoops with the controller. Fact of the matter is the controller saved Highway $10,000. So if I didn't express my gratitude, I'd be remiss. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
All right. Luciana? Women's Health?
Would you like me to do that one? Sure. Whereas American women of all races, classes, and backgrounds have made invaluable contributions to the growth and strength of our nation, both recorded and unrecorded. And whereas American women have played and continue to play vital economic, cultural, and social roles in every aspect of our nation's life, constituting a significant portion of the labor force both inside and outside the home. And whereas the American women have historically provided a majority of the nation's volunteer labor force, demonstrating unwavering dedication to their communities. And whereas American women were instrumental in establishing early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions that continue to shape our society. Whereas American women have been in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, serving as pioneers in the fight for justice and equality. And whereas American women have bravely served our country in the military, demonstrating courage and commitment in defense of our freedoms. And whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights, such as suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the movements of abolition, emancipation, industrial labor reform, civil rights, and peace, all of which have contributed to a more just and equitable society for all. And whereas despite these profound contributions, the role of the American woman in history has often been overlooked and undervalued in literature, education, and the study of American history. Now, therefore, on behalf of Edward A. Lackerman, Supervisor, along with the Town Board, do hereby designate March 2025 as Women's History Month, celebrating the countless pioneering women and their victories.
Yeah, thank you so much, Luciana.
All right.
Patrick?
Yep. Okay. Whereas the town of Yorktown celebrates March as Irish American Heritage Month, and whereas millions of Irish passed through Ellis Island, entering New York City in the 19th century, fleeing hunger and injustice within their country. And whereas one of the first immigrants passing through Ellis Island is Annie Moore, a 17-year-old from County Cork, Ireland. And whereas since 1762, the Irish New Yorkers have celebrated and cherished the Feast of St. Patrick on March 17th, which stands for a day of celebration of Irish heritage and sharing traditions with younger generations. And whereas the Irish Americans have defended our nations, most notably through the Irish Brigade, which originally consisted of the 63rd, the Fighting 69th, the 88th Infantry of New York, whose members fought in the Civil War, World War I, World War II, and Iraq. And whereas the Irish immigrants and Irish Americans have contributed greatly to American society, the state of New York, the town of Yorktown, and whereas the Irish Americans are deeply committed to family and the community and the exhibit of incredible work ethic as shown through the many contributions to our town and society. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Yorktown proclaims March 2025 as Irish American Heritage Month in the town of Yorktown.
Thank you, Patrick. Sergio?
Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Whereas Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month is recognized each March to promote respect for people with developmental disabilities and bring awareness of the barriers that people with developmental disabilities can face. And whereas developmental disabilities are a group of conditions relating to physical learning, language, or behavior that last throughout a person's lifetime, such as ADHD, autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, intellectual disability, learning disability, and other disabilities. And whereas people with developmental disabilities should be treated with dignity and respect and should have the resources needed to live secure, fulfilling lives and have access to their communities and services needed. And whereas stereotyping, discrimination, and bullying toward individuals with developmental disabilities is a nationwide problem, and whereas awareness of barriers people with developmental disabilities can face in participating in the community and collaboration on how to overcome those barriers can bring about broader inclusion and better outcomes for everyone. And whereas Yorktown is a community that is dedicated to fostering acceptance and welcoming of all residents and preventing discrimination and bullying, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Yorktown proclaims March 2025 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in the Town of Yorktown.
Right. Thank you so much, Sergio. All important to recognize on all of these matters. So thank you, Board. We will now move over to our presentations, and Chief Robert Noble.
you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. All right. Well, once again, it is an honor, privilege, pleasure to be up here tonight before you, celebrating excellent police work on behalf of members of the Yorktown Police Department and recognizing civilians who went above and beyond the call of duty to assist us and allow us to do our jobs to the best of our capabilities. So, for those of you who may not know who I am, again, I am Robert Noble, proud to be the Chief of Police of the Yorktown Police Department, and I stand before you this evening to proudly celebrate the dedication, compassion, bravery, and self-sacrifice of the members of the Yorktown Police Department, as well as members of our community. For those who wear the badge each day, I never cease to be amazed at the dedication, the empathy, courage, and character of the women and men that I work with. Ours is one of the few professions that is dedicated solely to the goal of making the lives of others better, safer, and more secure, maintaining public safety while often placing ourselves in harm's way to protect others. Without any further delay, I am honored to call upon the following individuals to join me on stage to again celebrate our excellent work in 2023 and 2024. And I'll begin the evening celebrating our recipients for the Yorktown Police Department Civilian Recognition Award. When I call your name, please make your way to the stage, turn and face the audience. I would ask Elizabeth Tavares to please join us. Rich Okaftel. Yorktown Community Service Worker, Animal Control Officer, Kristen Bowler. Kristen, are you here tonight? Yorktown Town Clerk, Diana Quast. And Donna Diana, who will accept the award on behalf of her late husband, our former Town of Yorktown Town Supervisor, Thomas Diana. On the evening of January 30th, 2023, at or about 9:50 p.m., the Yorktown Police Department reported to a residence on Cordial Road on a requested check on the welfare call for service. Responding officers to the residence would need to wear hazmat suits and rebreather masks to make entry into the residence due to a very strong smell of ammonia emanating from the residence. Upon entering the home, officers located 2 deceased subjects and an extremely large amount of cats inside of the residence. Upon my response to the scene and viewing firsthand what challenges we faced to further our investigation, I made 2 phone calls. I called Yorktown Town Supervisor Tom Diana first and Yorktown Town Clerk Diana Quast immediately thereafter to request their help in acquiring assistance from local animal rescue groups to help us do our jobs better. Both Supervisor Diana and Town Clerk Quast got right to work, and this had to be at about 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. And shortly after midnight, I was told that help would be there first thing in the morning. And sure enough, the next morning, and in the days that followed, Supervisor Diana and Town Clerk Quast stood by with us to assist in any way that they could throughout the residence entry and the feline recovery process. CSW Bowler was tasked with organizing all responding rescue groups and assisting our officers in logging them in to our investigation scene. She did so flawlessly. While multiple rescue agencies would join in the rescue cats from our scene, there were 2 individuals who went above and beyond the call of duty by entering the residence and physically removing in excess of 140 cats on January 31st, 2023. Elizabeth Tavares and Rich Okaftel were selfless and professional while removing the aforementioned cats, while being mindful that law enforcement had the duty of conducting an investigation within the residence. Once they had completed their work, they worked flawlessly in tandem to remove a staggering number of cats while doing their best to preserve the scene of the integrity of our investigation. They are rightly being lauded for their work tonight. All of the individuals that you see before you perform their respective duties at a very high level in the 48 hours after our initial discovery. Their cohesiveness allowed us to fully investigate the unfortunate passing of 2 Yorktown residents, from what we later learned were very good and very well-meaning people. We're quite certain that they were animal lovers, like many of us are. We also later learned that many of the cats recovered by Elizabeth and Richard were adopted to loving families. On behalf of all of us at the Yorktown Police Department, our sincere thanks, respect, and appreciation on a job well done. And many of you weren't there. There are people in this room at the Yorktown Police Department who were. Detective Noon put on that hazmat suit and rebreather mask. I can remember him going in there. And it was a sight that many of us had never seen, and many will not see again. But to see Elizabeth and Rich enter that residence and just, do their work, much like we do our work at the Yorktown Police Department, with just a high level of professionalism and caring, it was really, really great to see. And again, when we made those phone calls initially, whenever I called Supervisor Diana, he just jumped in feet first, man. There wasn't anything that man wouldn't do for any of us at any time of the day or night. He was salt to the earth. And anytime we've called upon Town Clerk Quast to assist us at the Yorktown Police Department, and there's a lot of planning that we do, but you know what? She picked up the phone that night. She also dove head first, and her and Supervisor Diana looked like they were attached at the hip a lot of times at the scene. So the people you see before you really, really deserve our recognition and our thanks. And there is somebody else who came here tonight to support them, and that is Ernie Longaro. Ernie, if you could step up. Ernie's the director over at the SPCA, all right, with their enforcement efforts of animal cruelty and animal investigations. He also assisted us that night, doing our jobs like law enforcement does, just getting the job done and making sure everything went well. And we work with Ernie. We've worked with him on multiple investigations and incidents. Always been professional and a pleasure to deal with. I thank you, Ernie. And, I will mention that, the SPCA, where Elizabeth and Rich, and I think Elizabeth was quite surprised to see me when I strolled through the door there a couple of weeks ago to get this ball back rolling. But, you all do such wonderful work in adopting pets out, to the community. My guy is 9 years old, and I got him from Briarcliff 9 years ago, and I honestly don't know who rescued who. And, I know Supervisor Lachterman, just, you adopted a dog, over there. Many of us have.
3 of them.
And there you go. So it's just, I'm so glad that we can honor everybody and what they did that night and working collectively to really, really help us out. Can I get a nice round of applause for everybody up there? And I now will present the certificates, and all will get the same certificate. I'm going to read it to you. It's the Yorktown Police Department Certificate of Recognition, and it's awarded to Elizabeth Tavares, Rich O'Coftel, Town Clerk Diana Quast, and Supervisor Tom Diana. And Donna Diana, thank you so much for being here to accept this in honor of Tom. And it says, for your respective role in assisting the Yorktown Police Department in recovering in excess of 150 cats, which were located inside the residence of a deceased couple during the week of January 30th, 2023 through February 5th, 2023, signed by me this date, March 4th, 2025. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. One more time, please. A round of applause. All right, at this time, I'd ask Yorktown Police Officer Domenico Donati to please take center stage. On August 20th, 2024, at or about 11:25 p.m., Yorktown Police Officer Domenico Donati, while on patrol, was approached by a civilian who told Officer Donati that he had heard that an individual had just been stabbed at the T-Bar and Grill, located off of Route 6 in the Jefferson Valley area. Officer Donati notified police dispatch and immediately responded to the scene, arriving within 1 minute. Officer Donati located a male subject who was bleeding from the abdomen the victim told Officer Donati that he was stabbed with an edged weapon. Officer Donati assisted in rendering first aid to the victim while awaiting the response of medical personnel and his backup. While rendering first aid, Officer Donati was also able to obtain information regarding the incident, including the identity of the suspect who had fled the scene of the crime. The suspect in the crime was subsequently arrested and charged with assault in the first degree, a violent Class B felony. Yorktown Police Department Police Officer Domenico Donati is being awarded the Yorktown Police Department Excellent Police Duty Award for his quick response, providing life-sustaining medical attention, and obtaining investigatory information, which led to the arrest of the assailant. I'll just put you in his place that evening. He's working a 4 to 12 tour. His tour is over in about 35 minutes. And he comes upon a person while patrolling a business district who tells him this happened. And he just responded immediately, not waiting for backup, going over there and really helping sustain this victim until medical personnel could come, and still obtaining information that allowed us to quickly identify this suspect and ultimately make an arrest. Did a hell of a job, Domenico. Thank you very much for your service and your duty. The Yorktown Police Department Certificate of Excellent Police Duty is awarded to Police Officer Donati for his prompt response to an edged weapon violent assault that occurred at the T-Bar and Grill on August 20, 2024. Medical aid was provided to a stabbing victim, and on-scene investigation led to the arrest of the subject responsible, who was subsequently charged with assault in the first degree, a Class B violent felony. Once again, nice round of applause for Officer Donati.
Great job.
Keep it up.
At this time, I would ask Yorktown Police Officer Colin Houlihan and Yorktown Police Department Detective James Hannigan. Center stage, please, gentlemen. In August of 2024, Yorktown Police Department Officer Colin Houlihan developed a confidential informant who shared with him information that an individual was selling narcotics in our community. With the assistance of Detective Hannigan and the Westchester County Police Department Narcotics Unit, an investigation was initiated, and narcotics consisting of prescription drugs were purchased from a local dealer. While the investigation was being reviewed and finalized for a potential arrest, Officer Houlihan, while on patrol, encountered the target of his investigation. Officer Houlihan had also developed a rapport with this suspect based on prior police interactions with him. Officer Houlihan was advised by the suspect that he was leaving the Yorktown area later that day to move out of state. I think his words were something to the effect that Yorktown was not good for him anymore and he needed to get out of here. He had no idea how fast he needed to get out of here. Officer Houlihan and Detective Hannigan with the Westchester County Police Department Narcotics Unit were able to formulate a tactical plan in a timely manner, respond to the suspect's residence, and place him under arrest before the suspect could leave the state and avoid prosecution. The male subject was charged with 2 felony counts of criminal sale of a controlled substance. For their outstanding and efficient investigation, which culminated in a drug dealer being removed from our streets, Yorktown Police Officer Colin Houlihan and Yorktown Police Department Detective James Hannigan are hereby awarded the Yorktown Police Department Excellent Police Duty Award. And I will add that had it not been for, Officer Houlihan doing his job that day, patrolling the town and recognizing this such suspect and engaging him in conversation, I think he was heading to Florida or somewhere down south. So, again, it's the little things you do, communicating with people, developing confidential informants who share with us information that we need to keep our streets safe. Did an excellent job, and when he discussed this with Detective Hannigan, they worked so quickly and efficiently and effectively to really build a case that was going to withstand any potential challenge in a criminal court. And for their outstanding and excellent performance of duty in August of 2024, the cultivation of a confidential informant that led to the arrest of a narcotics dealer who was illegally selling prescription pills in Yorktown, and arrest being made on the date the narcotics dealer was planning to leave New York State. The narcotics dealer was subsequently charged with 2 felony counts of criminal sale of a controlled substance. I hereby award Yorktown Police Officer Colin Houlihan and Detective James Hannigan our Excellent Police Duty Award. How about a round of applause for both of these officers?
Great work. Great work.
Thank you for your service.
All right. This time I would ask Yorktown Police Department Police Officer Brian Bennett join me center stage. Yorktown Police Officer Brian Mundy was also to be honored this evening. He worked with Officer Bennett that day, but he went to the same basketball game. He might have got subbed in because he couldn't get here on time like you, Serge. So, on July 14th, 2024, at or about 11:05, Yorktown Police, 11:05 a.m., Yorktown Police Officer Brian Mundy and Officer Brian Bennett were dispatched to a personal injury auto accident, a 2-car motor vehicle accident, where the operator of a motor vehicle was entrapped within the vehicle. Officer Mundy and Officer Bennett arrived very quickly to the scene of the accident and observed 2 vehicles with extensive front-end damage due to a head-on collision. One motor vehicle operator appeared to be severely injured and was trapped again inside of the vehicle. Upon checking this individual for vital signs, Officer Mundy and Officer Bennett determined that the individual was not breathing and had no pulse. Officer Mundy and Officer Bennett climbed into the vehicle to begin providing life-saving CPR. Empress paramedics arrived on scene and assisted Officer Mundy and Officer Bennett, and the injured party eventually would begin to breathe on his own. Members of the Yorktown Volunteer Ambulance Corps and Empress paramedics continued that medical care, and the Yorktown Volunteer Fire Department responded to the scene and used the jaws of life to extricate the injured individual from inside of the vehicle so that he could be transported to the hospital for further treatment. Lieutenant Foley was advised by paramedics on the scene that Officers Mundy and Bennett saved the individual's life for their immediate CPR and care of that subject while he was trapped inside of the vehicle. For their excellent judgment and performance of duty, which was instrumental in saving a life, Yorktown Police Officer Brian Mundy and Yorktown Police Officer Brian Bennett are hereby awarded the Yorktown Police Department Life Saving Award, and I will read that award. Police Officer Brian Bennett for his actions taken on July 14, 2024, while responding to a personal injury automobile accident. The performance of cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, led to a favorable outcome due to swift and decisive actions. It's not often you get to save a life, ladies and gentlemen, and that Officer Bennett and Officer Mundy got there so quickly, and Officer Mundy was your FTO for the day, correct?
No, I just got off FTO. He was the other sector car.
He was the other sector car. How long were you off? A week or two. All right. So it was immediately after he was off of field training, and that Officer Mundy and him got there so quickly. It made the difference, I think, in saving a life that day. And you should be honored with your actions that day, Officer Bennett. And I hereby award him this Yorktown Police Department Life Saving Award. If I could get a big round of applause for Officer Brian Bennett.
Congratulations. Good work.
This time, I'd ask Yorktown Police Officer Gino Argiro, Yorktown Police Officer Michael Yule, and Yorktown Police Department Detective Michael Caprio. Please join me center stage. On April 7, 2024, Yorktown Police Officer Gino Argiro was on patrol at 2:04 a.m. He was on directed patrol checking the Shrub Oak, Mohegan Lake, and Jefferson Valley business districts when he observed a motor vehicle on Barger Street traveling with an inoperable headlight. Officer Argiro conducted a traffic stop, and Officer Michael Ewell responded to assist Officer Argiro. While conducting the traffic stop and speaking with the motor vehicle operator, a firearm, a pistol, was observed in the area of the passenger side seat. The motor vehicle operator was asked to exit the vehicle and failed to comply with multiple verbal commands to do so. The individual did physically resist arrest and was forcibly removed from the vehicle by Officer Argiro and Officer Ewell. Using proper training and defensive tactics, Officer Argiro and Ewell were able to place the subject in handcuffs and effect an arrest. It was later determined that the firearm recovered was a ghost gun, which is an unserialized and untraceable firearm. Ghost guns are fully functioning guns that are as lethal as a fully finished and serialized firearm. The parts and kits have long been intentionally marketed as unregulated and untraceable to appeal to those who seek to use them in crimes. Yorktown Police Department Detective Michael Caprio also responded to the scene to assist with this arrest. Detective Caprio was able to get the subject, who gave conflicting stories to Officer Argiro and Ewell, to confess to knowingly possess the firearm. The subject was charged with criminal possession of a weapon in the 4th degree. For their performance of their police duties in an outstanding and efficient manner, Yorktown Police Department Officer Gino Argiro, Yorktown Police Officer Michael Ewell, and Yorktown Police Department Detective Michael Caprio are hereby awarded the Yorktown Police Department Excellent Police Duty Award. And again, 2:04 a.m., while many of us were in bed and asleep, your police officers were not. And Officer Argiro did an outstanding job, taking note of a vehicle that had an inoperable headlight and pulling that vehicle over and taking a gun off of our streets. And that Officer Michael Ewell responded there so quickly and needed to do so because our officer needed backup. And that's something that we desperately need out there is a timely response. And with a handgun being in that car, Officer Ewell was on the spot quick, and we needed him to assist Officer Argiro. And then Detective Caprio, he could probably get me to admit the things I would never want to admit. He is a skillful investigator, an excellent communicator, and on a side note, he's our lead defensive tactics instructor. So he trained both of these officers in how to remove this suspect from the vehicle and effect an arrest. And thankfully, no injuries to anybody involved. A highly, highly professional job done in an excellent manner. And again, disregarding their own safety to take a gun off the streets. So this certificate of excellent police duty is awarded to Officer Gino Argiro, Officer Michael Ewell, Detective Michael Caprio for their outstanding and excellent performance of duty on April 7, 2024. During a traffic stop, an illegal firearm was observed inside the vehicle, and the operator, after resisting arrest, was taken into custody. The subsequent investigation led to a report being developed, which resulted in a full confession being made. The defendant was subsequently charged with criminal possession of a weapon in the 4th degree and resisting arrest. And I get a really nice round of applause for Detective Caprio, Officer Ewell, and Officer Argiro.
Great job.
Congratulations, Mike.
Well done. Congratulations.
Good job, Mike.
Great job.
That caterpillar's growing in there pretty good.
Yeah.
Great job.
This time I'd ask Yorktown Police Officer Michael Campion and Yorktown Police Officer Brandon Schmelmer to join me on stage, please. On October 16, 2023, at or about 5:55 p.m., Yorktown Police Officer Michael Campion responded to the report of an assault in progress at the Wynwood Oaks apartment complex. It was reported that a male subject was attacking two senior citizen female victims. While en route to the call for service, it was reported that an assailant was in possession of a knife and attempting to stab the victims. Officer Campion arrived on scene and quickly located the suspect outside of an apartment building. The suspect began to approach Officer Campion with the knife concealed beneath his shirt. Officer Campion confronted the suspect immediately and gave verbal commands for the suspect to drop the knife. The suspect complied, and Officer Campion directed him to move away from the knife. Officer Campion then placed the subject under arrest and secured him in handcuffs. Additional police department members responded and immediately assisted Officer Caprio. They were able to enter an apartment building and locate both victims. One victim had a chest wound, the result of a stab wound from a knife. Officer Campion and Officer Brandon Schmelmer, with the assistance of medical personnel, were able to control the bleeding. The other senior citizen victim was determined to have been knocked down and kicked in the chest. She was also injured pretty badly. She was provided medical attention by Officers Campion and Schmelmer and medical personnel on the scene. All of the above, from the initial call for service to police headquarters, to Officer Campion and Officer Schmelmer arriving and arresting the suspect, and then providing aid to victims, all occurred in under 10 minutes. Again, you had a police officer in the area responding in such a timely manner and highly professional, approaching a suspect armed with a knife, gave professional, prompt commands, which led to the suspect dropping that knife, and Officer Campion did his job flawlessly that day. And that Officer Schmelmer was able to get there so quickly enabled Officer Campion and Officer Schmelmer to locate the other victim and to make sure that first aid was given to both of our victims, and they both survived that incident, and we're grateful for that. But again, just an outstanding job, professionally done, disregarding their own safety. I can't be thankful and happy enough that the job well done by Officer Campion and Officer Schmelmer. I will read their respective awards. A certificate of commendation is awarded to Police Officer Brandon Schmelmer for his actions taken on October 16, 2024, at the scene of a violent assault against two senior citizens. Upon securing the scene, medical aid was rendered to two victims, one of whom suffered a stab wound to the chest. It should say 2023, Brandon. We'll get that fixed. But it doesn't take away from anything you did that day. And a certificate of excellent police duty is awarded to Police Officer Michael Campion for his outstanding and excellent performance of duty on October 16, 2023, while investigating a violent assault in progress against two senior citizens. Upon quickly arriving on scene and locating the suspect, who was armed with a knife, command presence and verbal commands led to the suspect complying and dropping the knife. The suspect was ultimately taken into custody without further incident. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get a very nice round of applause for Officer Campion and Officer Schmelman?
Congratulations.
Great job, man. How's Spar doing?
Congratulations.
Brandon, good job.
I get Yorktown Police Department Detective James Hannigan to join me on stage. On November 10th, 2021, the Yorktown Police Department responded to a car fire in a residential parking lot on Lexington Avenue. Inside of the vehicle was a subject who was pronounced deceased at the scene. An autopsy would reveal that the deceased did in fact suffer a fentanyl overdose, and that the darkening in his lungs from smoke inhalation indicated that he was alive at the time of the fire. Evidence at the scene, including a cell phone, was recovered. Detective James Hannigan, and at this time and during most of the investigation, Detective Hannigan was a uniformed police officer, shared intelligence that he was investigating a local drug dealer, a persistent drug dealer, for narcotic sales in the Lexington Avenue area, and that our victim was known to purchase narcotics from this dealer. Detective Hannigan continued to gather intelligence and factual information that the suspect was continuing to sell narcotics despite believing that the narcotics he had sold had actually caused a fatality. After a lengthy investigation, including multiple drug sales made by this suspect to a confidential informant, a search warrant was obtained and executed. Recovered from the suspect residence was ammunition, narcotics, and packaging associated with narcotic sales. The Drug Enforcement Agency of the United States, the DEA, and the Office of the United States Attorney of the Southern District would ultimately take ownership of this investigation. A federal arrest warrant was obtained against the suspect for distribution of fentanyl resulting in the death of another and possession of ammunition by a convicted felon. On Monday, December 4th, 2023, members of the DEA, the Westchester County Department of Public Safety, New York State Probation, and the Yorktown Police Department executed the arrest warrant on this suspect, who is facing a minimum federal prison sentence of 20 years. As a side note, the family of the victim were quite emotional that we doggedly pursued this case, especially Detective Hannigan, specifically mentioning that people who struggle with addiction are often lost in the shuffle in cases like this. The work that Detective Hannigan did sticking with this case for years is going to lead to a conviction for a 20-year sentence for somebody who has dealt drugs in that area for far too long. And it isn't easy to get this type of conviction. Intelligent, courageous, meticulous, just excellent, excellent police work demonstrated by Detective Hannigan. And he was also recommended for a county award for this. We'll await the outcome on that to see how that winds up. But again, for his outstanding and excellent performance of duty throughout a 2-year investigation of narcotic sales in the Mohegan Lake area, while working in conjunction with several other law enforcement agencies, probable cause to arrest a persistent narcotics dealer was established. The narcotics dealer was subsequently arrested and charged with selling fentanyl to a subject who died as a result of using this narcotic. And you know what? He did get help from a lot of people in our police department, but make no mistake about it, the guy standing in front of you really stuck with it, did an excellent job in doggedly pursuing this case, and the outcome, again, was taking somebody off of our streets who should not be on it, endangering the lives of our citizens. Again, a very nice round of applause for Yorktown Police Department. Detective James Hannigan.
Excellent work.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the awards ceremony. I'd like to really compliment the families of all of the Yorktown police officers that you see here, and also that you see in the back of the room. Without your love and support, none of this is possible. You know, a lot of these police officers, you see what they turn out, for a shift and their shift of duty, and you just don't know what you're going to run into. You don't know who you're going to run into at any time of the day or night. And for the family members who are here to support our police officers, I can't thank you enough. And I want you to know that I and the administrative team here look to make their jobs as safe as possible, and that they return home at the end of each shift to you and to carry on with a career that is, it's not just a job, it truly is a vocation. You can't do this job halfway. You need to be all in. And I thank you, the families of all of our law enforcement officers, for being here today to support them. And you will hear me say it time and time again, our partnership with our community, that makes us, you've got a top-notch police department. The men and women of this police department, really, I'd like to see a better department, and that's no knock on any police department. High character, excellent caliber men and women at this police department, and it's an honor to be their chief and to be up here on evenings like tonight to celebrate their work. So I thank them and I commend them for their work, and to those who came out to support them tonight, thank you very much for standing up for them. And those community partnerships, you know, people like Elizabeth Tavares and Rich O'Caftel, and also people who answer the call like you town board members, you know, like Diana, like you did that night, and like Supervisor Diana did that night, coming out to help us when we need it. That's what makes us our best, too. We need your help, we need your support, and we get it on a regular. So I thank you very much for supporting the men and women of the Yorktown Police Department. Lastly, Captain Kenneth Scroy, Act of Kindness Day is coming up. It's March 16th. It's Sunday, March 16th. Now that day, you know what, an act of kindness, hold the door open for somebody, maybe be patient on the road with somebody who's maybe driving a little too slow, or, you know, just doing something where you might lose your patience. Just acts of kindness happen in many different ways. So on that day, in the town of Yorktown, please be mindful of Kenny Scroy Act of Kindness Day. And on March 13th at 11 a.m., many of the officers you see tonight, they wear beards. And that's because we raise funds for families who are either suffered a life-altering or life-changing event, or for community groups that really do work in our community that assist and make the lives of others better. Our guys are growing beards in February and March to raise funds for United for the Troops and the Alliance for Safe Kids. We'll make that collective donation on March 13th at 11 a.m. in front of police headquarters. And we ask and we invite you to also donate, whether it's your time or maybe it's something to United for the Troops or the Alliance for Safe Kids, in our brother, Captain Kenny Scroy's name. We'll never forget him, and we'll always honor his legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much tonight.
We are truly blessed to have the type of police department we have. I cannot tell you how many comments I get from the public. It's an honor and privilege to support them through the town board, and you will always have our support. All right. I believe, Sergio, you have something from our poet laureate?
Yes, I do. He is doing well, and he is in rehab, so and he's back home. So we wish him well. He did send me a poem. It's titled, "Are You Jewish?" They were the first words that sports maven Bill Mazer ever said to me. We were in two separate cars going across Midtown New York City, stopped at a red light, and recognizing him, signaled to roll down our windows and asked him a baseball trivia question. Most baseball folks know who the third baseman on the Tinkers to Evers to Chance team was. Who was the catcher? The light changed and we moved ahead. At the next red light, he asked, "Are you Jewish?" Bewildered, I said no. Then he gave the answer, Johnny Kling. And we drove away with me still bewildered. When Bill started Mazer in the Morning on WEVD, I called in and asked him about it. He told me that Kling was Jewish, one of the few first Jewish big leaguers, so he assumed that I was Jewish. And from then on, I was a regular call-in on the show. I was John from Jefferson Valley, and Bill, or his son Arnie, would send me tickets to sporting events. I also introduced him to a stockbroker, ex-political speechwriter, the late Bill Kent, who Bill found very amusing. Now, Bill is no longer with us, and the sports world has lost a font of sports knowledge. But I miss more the man I liked, the only person who ever asked me if I was Jewish. By John McMullen.
Hope you're doing well, John. All right, so we will now move to personnel. From the Office of the Personnel Manager, appoint Janice Seriana to the position of Senior Office Assistant in the Comptroller's Office, and also to appoint Mark Williams to the position of Caretaker in the John C. Hart Memorial Library. Okay, may I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Janice and Mark, welcome aboard. Looking forward to working with you both.
Congratulations.
Yes. We will now open the floor for courtesy of the floor on public comment. Please remember you have 3 minutes to speak. If there is anything that you is important, you don't have to wait for courtesy of the floor. You could always come to the office or contact any of us through our website. Everyone has a phone number and email address on there. Okay. Please introduce yourself, and then the timer will start.
Gregory Kravtsov, Yorktown Taxpayer Subsidy Committee. Dear board member, here is a brief timeline of prion detection and spread across United States and in Yorktown. 1988, as per Chief Soviet bioweaponeer Ken Alibek testimony to Center for Disease Control after he defected to United States, original act of mad cow disease causing agent prion released onto British cow cattle 1992-1994, after disastrous increase in human form of mad cow disease, which called variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease infection in British population, human population, and continental Europe ban on British meat import, England reluctantly kill and burn all its cattle to the effect of billions of pounds of financial loss. That's billions. Greatest ecological disaster from dead carcasses burned due to prion indestructibility nature infecting local water supply. 1996, Oprah Winfrey makes public admission of similar infection in United States. 1998, Texas meat producers sued her for their sales of questionable contaminated meat going down with the financial losses on their part. To fight in court, Oprah Winfrey spent millions of dollars of her own money and won. In other words, she proven that it was contaminated. 2018, my neighbor Glenn Johnson of 2819 Birch Street, Yorktown, a brilliant IBM scientist and my good friend, had contracted prion infection and developed telltale symptoms. He asked me to use his oncoming inevitable horrible death, which came last year, from prion-caused Lewy body dementia, officially diagnosed, to prevent continuous Center for Disease Control cover-up of prion naturally transforming from cattle into water supply. This fact was finally recognized by Elon Musk, firing prion research department of Center for Disease Control last week. Now courts are ready to accept legal claims from prion infection victims. In order to save town from such potential responsibility, I propose to hold responsible Westchester County and New York State Boards of Health, which knew about prion contamination by Soviet act of bioterrorism from 1988 action, but kept silent. So you have my proposed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kravtsov. Yep.
So you can answer in totality. In other words, I have 5 papers with you, so answer on all of them, please.
I've answered some, but thank you, Mr. Kravtsov.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And can you give me, I'm sorry, can you give me, Diana, can you give me my copies? In other words, I gave you like 30 pages. Please make a copies and give me the copies because it's going to become, and sir,
Okay.
please ask her to do so because it's going to be.
There's a process. Mr. Kravtsov, thank you.
Hi, good evening. Larry Killian, Yorktown Heights. Susan, thanks for sharing the great suggestions to pare down the sewer and pump section projects so we don't lose grant money to other towns. Ed and Sergio, you claim that we can't predict what developers will do. I strongly disagree. If we do our homework, we can predict if a tax break is needed, but it will take me a couple of months of 3-minute segments to analyze each case. So let's start with BJ's Gas. Years ago, BJ's considered various locations and chose Yorktown because their trade area analysis, which identified their competitors' nearest stores, customers within 3, 5, and 10 miles, highway drive times, etc., and because it would accommodate a gas station as they have at 175 of their stores. So case closed. They chose Yorktown without an incentive. But setting aside that past data, let's look at current data. There are 3 players: the town, the property owner, UBP, and the retailer, BJ's. It is argued that tax breaks are needed to bring in or keep businesses from moving out of town. Not needed here. BJ's had to put their gas station next to the store. The access road and paved lot were already in place. No option for UBP to pack up and leave town. However, the financial analysis is key. To buy gas, you have to join the club. More customers for their store. With the purchasing power of 175 stations, they can sell gas for much less than their nearby competitors. You can't buy gasoline online. Easy to predict. Large increased profits. But it's not BJ's that gets the tax break, nor the contractor, Ed, as you said on February 4th. It's the property owner, UBP. BJ's contributed $1.2 million to build the gas station, but UBP only $240,000. For this small investment, UBP got a large increase in rent from BJ's Gas and perhaps 1,000 more cars a day, bringing more business to their existing tenants. This was such a good deal, they should have paid us to mitigate the traffic problems. Thus, there is overwhelming evidence, past and current, that the tax break was not needed, and we need a traffic study, which I believe will show that traffic is worse there than it is on Route 6. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tom Dunn. I'm here to represent the Fam Jam Committee. This is our 4th year here in Yorktown. It's going to be May 10th, 12 to 8. We have food trucks, beer and wine, vendors. Mother's Day is the day after, so we're planning to have many vendors that are there catering to mom. We have live music, a basketball tournament, and inflatables for the kids, which is really our most successful part. Over the last 3 years, we have given to the following organizations that do so much here in Yorktown: Alliance for Safe Kids, Sport Connection, Teen Center, Yorktown High School Wrestling, scholarships to Yorktown High School seniors and Lakeland seniors, as well as a scholarship in Jay Carcara's name. VFW United for the Troops, Friends of Yorktown Parks and Recreation, St. Patrick's Church, Yorktown Girls Lacrosse, Yorktown High School Boys Basketball, Yorktown PD, Yorktown FD, and YVAC. This year we plan on contributing to many of these, but our primary is going to be Yorktown Volunteer Fire Department. So we ask everybody in Yorktown to come out, enjoy their neighbors, enjoy fun and merriment with us. We just want to give something back to the town, have some fun, do some good, and we look forward to seeing everybody on the 10th from 12 to 8. Thank you.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tom.
Hi, Mark Sussman, Yorktown Heights. I'm here in regards to zoning, Chapter 300, -183. In any residence district, no required off-street parking facility shall be developed within the required front yard to serve other than residential uses. Also, in the front yard, again, a yard extending across the full width of the lot and lying between the front line of the lot and the nearest line of the building. My next door neighbor parks 4 cars every day on their front lawn. I grew up in a rough area in Brooklyn. I worked really hard to move my family up here. It's been 33 years, and it's been a great 33 years. I don't regret it. I wish the cops were for me to thank them. My kids, we never worried about them. But to drive home after working 12, 14, 15 hours a day still at 61, and it looks like Hunts Point Auto, it's really, really getting to the point where you guys got to do something. I pulled the codes from 3 towns that surround us, Ossining, Somers, and Cortland, so it's a circle around this town. They have more teeth than we do with this one thing, although I'm really, really glad I've lived here the last 33 years not there. But you guys got to step up because, you know, working so hard to pay so much to live here, and it's still been a great place to live, a safe place to live. We don't enjoy it like we used to, and to be honest with you, most of our neighbors don't enjoy it either. What's going on, and just nobody wants to do anything about it. I live in countryside. We have underground power lines. They park right next to the boxes. The cars are sinking into the boxes. It's going to either cause a fire or somebody's going to get electrocuted. There's just no respect for the law, and I just want to know, who do I follow up with to make sure that I don't have to deal with this anymore, or no one else in my cul-de-sac. It's just been enough. And we try talking with them, and I just can't. It's just going to escalate to something that it shouldn't be. That's why I'm here tonight. So I'm asking all of you to step up and help us. It's a great community, and we got to keep it that way. There shouldn't be cars parked in front of people's homes. So please let me know how I follow through with this.
Yeah, we'll answer at the end, Mark. We wait till everyone's done. So if you could have a seat as soon as we finish up.
That's the procedure, right? So
Would
just
you like the paper for all the towns?
Yeah, we'll grab that in a minute. Please relax a second and.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Elan Gilbert, former town supervisor. I just want to, I noticed on the agenda that you are looking to continue the payment for the company to promote business in the town. And I want to, first of all, thank you because, again, if you all recall, it was during my term as supervisor, we created an economic revitalization committee. One of the recommendations was hiring marketing for the town. And at the time, we had a fight to get $20,000 for the fund. I see it's been adopted after over the years now. Matt Slater continued the process. Tommy Diana continued the process, and now Ed, you're continuing the process, and I appreciate that. I just hope that it's utilized for the purposes that it was originally envisioned, promoting the town, letting people know what a wonderful town Yorktown is. I remember one of the initiatives that we utilized it for when I was the supervisor was promoting the local farms because, again, part of the wonderful aspect of this community is the rural and bucolic beauty of this town. And so we have the progress and preservation sign behind you. I just hope that this is utilized for the purpose of, yes, let's continue moving the town forward in a very positive way, but also let's maintain the preservation of the beautiful aspects of this town. Why most of us moved up here, me over 30 years ago, and I just hope we continue in that vein. So thank you.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Dan Strauss, 58-year resident. How are you doing?
Hi, Dan.
I do.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about the affordability that came up last week of some of these new projects. They are market rate. I'm just going to say it again. Market rate. They're not affordable housing. It's not affordable housing. It's not low-income housing. It's market rate. Number two, there is diversity in the housing that's being offered. Underhill Farm is different housing options. The one over at the Blue Book, the old Blue Book, they're rental properties for 55 and over. That's it. They're market rate. Everything is market rate. The luxury apartments here are market rate. In town, right downtown, behind the Roma building, they're market rate. So I just think that you keep rehashing this business. If you don't want the project, then tell the guy go, and then he can either sue you or stop. That's all. I'm just saying. That's not an issue. Ms. Siegel, you brought it up last week. They're market rate. Okay. I called the mall management about the trucks because I think that's unacceptable to have trucks parked, 2 of them continually. The man who answered was very forthcoming, and he said that it's all above board. So in finality, I said, so really what's happening is what happened on Route 6, it's come over there. I don't think it's acceptable to see a United van line that's like 5 stories long sitting in a parking lot, our signature mall in the town of Yorktown. He says it's short term. I don't think it is. Sparkle Lake has become a dog waste facility again. And it has also become a garbage dump. And I envisioned it because there's now less presence because the building where Parks and Rec was is gone. So people just think they can treat it like they want. It's their own, and it's very sad. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Dan. Hi, Sarah.
Good evening, Sarah Wilson, resident of Yorktown Heights. Just had a question on one of the agenda items. Dave Paganelli mentioned it earlier. I guess the tank, the 6,000-gallon Convault tank, failed. So I'm wondering if maybe when you get a chance you could just expand a little on it. How old was it? And was there any environmental impact as a result of that failure? And then has it all been cleaned up? And does the cost, it talks about the cost of acquiring the tank, the accessories, and the installation. Does it also cover the removal of the existing one? That's it. Thank you.
Hi, Anthony Pichette, Yorktown resident. Just want to talk about a couple things. I always get excited when Dave's here because it's all I ever want to talk about. Just because you have your personality. But a couple things. I go back to Veterans Road again. A couple things. First of all, is there anything that we can do about the exceptionally large vehicles, trucks, anything like that? Maybe redirect it. I'm going to jump on what you said, Supervisor, about potentially pedestrianizing. I can't say that word, but you know what I mean. That space. So I just want to say it so it's in the ether again because that was cool. So yeah, I mean, if there's anything to be done about that. And I also just was curious because I see, walking around downtown, area. I often see vehicles and these big trucks parked on the sidewalks, and I know we're talking about repairing the sidewalks with the streetscape. So having these large trucks just kind of hang out, is that illegal? I don't even know. Is it illegal? And if it's not, can it be? Or can we discuss that? So, I mean, all it does is just ruin the truck. So just park somewhere, park on the side, wherever. So, that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks, Anthony.
Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? A motion to close courtesy of the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So, Mr. Kratzoff, I'll address real quick. I'm not sure where he would like us to go with his
Prion disease.
prion. there's a lot of speculation in what he's been presenting, and he wants to now put a petition together. I know he's addressed the clerk's office and the county clerk, and put a onus on, as he said, New York State and Westchester County Department of Health, saying that they knew and this was somehow a cover-up. We do not have the investigative resources for that. We do have a great police department, but I don't think we have the scientific know-how there. And a lot of this stuff on people passing is speculative as well. So, Mr. Kratzoff, I'll repeat again that I don't feel that you're talking to the right body, and that this is something that you should be discussing with either the Department of Health, or I would talk to CDC or the National Institute of Health. They would be the ones that you would want to talk to, and I do not feel competent enough in the subject matter to bring it to them myself. So please feel free to reach out to them and try to move forward with that. Larry, the 485B, the gas station actually was a second part of a project. It wasn't part of the first project. They had to go for approval on that. But you sort of, you pointed out that it's the landlords that end up with it. And you're right, because the landlords bear the expense of the property, and they bear the expense of the building. Also, as a business owner, I know when I renegotiate a lease, or when I negotiate a lease to begin with, there are asks that the landlords have to sort of put up there to either get my business or keep it running. It could be 5 to 6 months worth of rent. It could be renovations. It's not like there's a cash register where everything's coming in and nothing's going out. And that's why those exemptions exist. But I think, I believe when you look at the BJ's property, there was build out, there was traffic mitigation there. There were new lights, signalization, widenings, road infrastructure that was done. And they also bring, I think BJ's alone probably employs somewhere around 200 people. And then when you start looking through that plaza, they bring jobs, and they bring to the community, and they bring taxes. And to have something on the improvement only, I still, as a business person, do not think is an overreaching ask of the town. And we did have, as Lonnie pointed out, we did have the Economic Revitalization Board, and they also backed that up. We had a board for the 485B tax exemption when we started. It wasn't something that we said, let's let the politicians sit at a table and figure this out. We put together people that were in the business of retail malls, people that had other buildings. GDP was one. We had people from banks. We had people from different industries that sat on that board and made the suggestions on what worked for business. Now, I've spoken about the fact that maybe things have changed. Maybe we need to look at that again. And we are trying to not only bring back some of those members of the board, unfortunately I know at least one is deceased, but we're going to look at that again. But, I think that the benefits, and I think you had that breakdown as well, far outweigh the small discount that's given over a 10-year period. And that's a perpetual building that we keep gaining taxes throughout. So, there's a lot to be said for it. I know we disagree on this. We've had many conversations. We'll do the research with the board, not our board, but another 45B board, and we'll try to get those that viewpoint from today from the people that really that it really affects, and they could tell us, and that's what we had the first time around. And it's easy to say they'd all come to Yorktown, but I've lived here 30 years, and they didn't all come to Yorktown. Matter of fact, they avoided Yorktown like the plague. And it's with the new stuff that's coming in. You know, I remember someone running an ad with tumbleweeds going through a parking lot, and it used to be the Giuseppe's parking lot, and it's not anymore. And I remember running into Mr. Strauss at Uncle Giuseppe's as he meets with some of his fellow veterans, and he came up to me. He said, "You know, I thought about it. I'd rather have the cars. I don't want the empty lots." But that's what we had, and we have a very short memory around here as we think about that. But we are turning blight into bright. These malls that have been, you know, and you've sat here and said, "Oh no, retail's never going to go." We have 2 out of 3 spots now for Uncle Giuseppe's.
No, Turcos.
Turcos. He was Uncle Giuseppe's before, but the Turcos building, a possible third one coming in. We have a couple of new restaurants opening. People are very much interested in Yorktown, and
So, you know, the third spot, because the old Turcos is being subdivided, is there should be a letter of intent for the third spot as well going out soon. So that
Right.
building will be filled.
Yep, the Padavano building, which was empty after COVID, is now, I think they have one open space left, the end cap, because the real estate company downsized, and they had a couple of people interested in there. Possibly Maria's Pizza if Frank decides to come back into the pizzeria business. But the restaurant business is a hard business, so he has his thoughts to go through.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't BJ's Gas is only a byproduct of Costco getting the approval for the gas?
Yes, they were secondary to that, and they didn't have that intention.
It wasn't in their business plan, but now that Costco got approval for it, they went for it.
Yep. Tom, thank you for the update on Fam Jam. Looking forward to it again this year. Mark, which street do you live on in? Heather? Okay. Can you give that info? Okay. Can you give that to our attorney? Adam, we could speak about this. You need it for a copy for the record?
And
Yeah.
And can you give us the address without saying it right now? Just
No.
give it to us later.
Well, I'm sure I could fill it.
Down on the manila folder.
I don't need you to. I'll drive up Heather Court on my way home. If it's that obvious, it's not that hard. Wasn't aware of the situation, but do you guys have a homeowners association in there?
Yeah, well,
That's probably where this issue lies, but we could see what we can. Yeah. Well,
Very active homeowners association.
okay.
You prefer that, you think?
All
I
right.
think that would be a jumping off point that
I went to the homeowners association. They put out an email to everybody.
All right. We'll
They're not law enforcement.
We'll-
I mean, they give recommendations.
we'll touch base on it. We actually can't. I'm sorry. We can't have the conversation back and forth. Is your number on there too?
I'll put it on there, right?
Thank you. Give me your number and email with that. That would be great. All right, I'll move forward. Lonnie, yep, the Economic Revitalization Board unfortunately stumbled and didn't really get there. I know one of the big things we were both working on back then was trying to get a hotel to town. COVID really shot that one down, then ran it over 6 or 7 times, and then threw it down the sewer drain. I was just having that conversation today with Dr. Phil as we were talking about some traffic areas. Yep. We have been using Thompson and Bender to talk about all the great things in the town. We have Maple Week coming up. Already put them in touch with Bry, and we're going to. We had them at Read Across America Day, talking about our libraries, and they've been great at that. But they've also been out there talking to developers, because TMB has a very, very big footprint. Some of this business that we're getting there. I spoke to one attorney, and the job is not in yet, but I know he is a religious Thompson and Bender client, or works with people that are part of his clientele. And I'll tell you what, they came up talking to me all about Yorktown, and TMB is doing a great job for us. And it's also good. Dean used to live here, and I think Jeff still does. So they're invested in Yorktown, which is great as well. And we will keep utilizing their services to push forward Yorktown being a great place to live, work, and own a business. Dan, I don't think I've ever said that the projects are affordable. I've always said a market rate. I do agree we're getting more diversity, and that's why it's important to look at these projects and analyze them and go through. The trucks at the mall, it's definitely, that's private property. The Route 6, we were able to do something about it being public. And we had to sort of do what we needed to do and get New York State involved and just move it forward. So New York State finally went ahead because they have a right of way there. And thank you for saying something about Sparkle Lake. I will text Jim Maturano if he's not watching this, which sometimes he likes to spend his evenings watching the wonderful meetings. But we'll get someone down there tomorrow to take a look, and if we need to put some waste stations there for dog waste, to hopefully people use them. I have, a second dog now. We just adopted a puppy, and, it's so important to clean up. And, I find my puppy finding some other dog's poop on the ground, and, oh, what's this? And it's, you got to pull her away. It's really a disgusting thing, and I hope that people curb their dogs and clean up after them, and, that's an important one for me as well, so I'll make sure I get on with Jim. Anthony, Veterans Road, I probably should toss over to Dave, but I'm wondering if we could do a weight limit on the road, or if that's supposed to be a specific entrance for the mall, which would unfortunately cause us not to be able to put a weight limit. The Acme Center, that might be an access that's part of their site plan. But a weight limit might work to keep some of those heavier trucks off of there. And please, on the side, after the meeting, let me know where you're seeing trucks on the sidewalks so I could try to observe that.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that either.
Yeah. And I am going to kick, Sarah, your question over to Dave.
Okay. Dogs, the dog waste issue first. Okay, today I received my third request for no dog waste signs. Okay, my third in a week and a half. So obviously, I think, and the person I spoke to today intimated that because the snow had melted, all of a sudden it was much more obvious that the dog waste was there. So we are at Highway. Dog waste laws are not enforceable unless they're backed by a local law. All right, we can certainly put up signs that say, please curb your dog, something to that effect, and hopefully that, triggers something in their garden of their unconsciousness to curb their dogs. So we're working on that at this particular moment. The Convault, what a story. So let me lay it out for you. On a Thursday, we noticed that the Convault is a 6,000-gallon fuel cell inside a concrete vault. Okay, and we noticed that the bottom of the vault was starting to look wet from the outside, and it wasn't raining. So what was happening was the fuel was seeping out of the inner container and seeping through the wall. Now, we figure we lost about 3.5 to 4 gallons of fuel. The trip wire for reporting to the DEC is 5 gallons. Okay, I have a wonderful relationship with the DEC. I run a DEC regulated facility at 2200 Greenwood Street, so the last thing I want to do is play around with them. Notified them immediately. They sent down inspectors. The following mornings, the Department of Health came down, as well as the DEP. So it was an alphabet soup of people making sure that we were doing our right thing. We got a hold of the fire department. They were gracious enough to bring us over some oil booms that surrounded the tank, so we didn't have any spillage beyond the concrete pad that the tank was on. The interesting part of it was, at that point, water didn't have any diesel fuel. So now it was a Thursday. We were expecting a storm the following Wednesday, and nobody in town had fuel. What we did was we took every vehicle that we had, over 60 vehicles, and filled them all up. So we ended up with about 115 gallons of fuel left in that particular tank. So it didn't pose that big a threat. But now we had to get a tank, and that's what we did. Was we immediately got a hold of a company. They came the following day, which was a Friday. We were able to do an emergency voucher to rent a 4,000-gallon diesel tank, and that was put in on Tuesday. So when the storm came actually on Thursday, we at least had fuel for all the vehicles. So the cost associated there, where once again I'll yell out to the controller's office, saved us $10,000. The cost associated is all. This is a environmental company that's fully registered. It includes tearing down the previous vault. We believe the cause of the leakage was that for a number of years, the highway department used biodiesel, okay, where apparently there's some sort of a bacteria that forms in the tank. And if you kill that bacteria, that's great because it doesn't affect your trucks. But then the bacteria, as it decomposes, creates an acidic kind of thing. You know, I know I'm not very technical, and that sort of eats away at the tank. The tank was purchased in 2001, okay, for $32,000. So you could see the rate of inflation has certainly, increased it. Figuring that the removal of the tank was $20,000. So the 124 minus the 20 is 104. So something that was $31,000 24 years ago is now 4 times that. So, trying to remember all the parts of the question. That's that.
Does it include the tank removal, Dave?
It does. It includes the removal of the tank, the removal of the concrete vault. It includes all new wiring, everything that needs to be done to bring it back up to snuff. The only issue we had, and just to make sure that everybody pays their fair share, the town operates on a system where you put a pro key into the thing, it registers your truck number and says what you've used. So at the end of a month or 3 months, I'm not sure, all the the diesel fuel gets divided up among the different departments. Now we had a month where water didn't have it, and a full month, and we were the only ones that had fuel. So what we did was we took last year, okay, and we took the average for February, and we billed that to all the other departments. But the problem was last year we had 2 snowstorms in February, and this year we had 8. So other than that, but it worked out fine. We have no problem when everyone is working for us during snowstorms. They can use our fuel. It doesn't make a difference. So I think that's the story. Is that everything? Did I get everything? Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we move on?
Yeah, so, Mark, I would like the address, so if you look me up, the address of that, the place. Okay, I'll take a look at it there then. I didn't know if you did it in. We'll take a look. And did you ever try code enforcement? Did you call them or?
They feel that there's nothing on the books, but.
Okay, all right, no problem.
And it is on the books.
Yeah, I got it. Well.
They don't park on the front lawn, and they violate overnight parking.
So we'll take a look and we'll be in touch with you since you left your information. That's definitely look at that. Yeah, Larry, I understand how you feel about the 45B, but there's always a big part that's missing. You don't talk about the revenue, you don't talk about the hustle and bustle that it has. Definitely to some degree, or whether it's big or small, contributed. To the vibrancy of our business sector. It's definitely come back. I keep getting messages from people. Yorktown is back. Yorktown is coming back. Just by evidenced by all the stores. Now, I'm not saying the 485B is responsible for everything, but to leave that portion of that out, that it has it almost sounds like all it's done is cost us money and it hasn't contributed anything, and I don't think that's accurate at all. We're filling empty stores that are and to Ed's point, which you made a really good point. The jobs, the amount of jobs that these 3 places bring in. Now, I know you say, well, let's look at the evidence now, and they were going to come anyway. That's Monday morning quarterbacking. I mean, you got to remember what the decision was at the time when that was an empty lot and it looked blighted. I mean, we don't know what that looked like back then and what contributed to these decisions. So, I think there is a bigger picture, and I don't think we're looking at the entire one. As far as that, I mean, Lonnie, I know the Economic Revitalization Committee, I was a member on it as part of the chamber. The chamber's been looking into bringing a hotel here for, 30 years. So, but it was interesting participating in it, and I think it did contribute to Yorktown's betterment. I think that's all I have. I just want to keep it short. We had a lot of presentations tonight. Anybody?
I have a couple things. That's it. Real quick, Lanny, I think that Thompson and Bender, they have access to Channel 12 that at their fingertips. We don't have that. You know what I mean? So I support that marketing. And then so Fam Jam is going to be May 10th. Sarah, the Garden Club usually has their sale, Mother's Day sale, in front of Suburban, and you guys are getting moved out of there. So we're going to try to find you a nice spot that you guys are going to be primo and inside the Fam Jam.
Yeah,
And
so
it's
I got
it's
a call
fam-
from the Garden Club today. I think maybe they could do a tandem thing, but I don't think that the place is going to be available for you guys. We spoke to Eden, but I'll find out tomorrow. I did get an email from Betty Ann. I'm sorry.
No.
Sarah, I'm going to petition for them to rename it the Fam Jam and Garden Club Mother's Day Sale. Okay.
No, and just for everybody out there, the Garden Club does a phenomenal job. I've been going there for the last 2 or 3 years. I just buy one sheet, and it tells you plant this here, plant A, B, C, D, and the things are beautiful. So.
My kids do like a competition, like who gets the orange flowers, who gets. So
I just have you finished?
I'm done. Yeah.
I just have just a few things. You mentioned in passing, Larry, the pump station money and the grant, and that's my concern. And I raised it at a meeting or two ago. We have a $5.8 million grant to rehab 4 aging pump stations in the Halleck's Mill district. We've got that grant money in 2021. The studies were done as to what's needed. Now, I know the supervisor has said the issue is the money because typically with a grant we have to front the money. But I think we have to deal with that and decide how we're going to finance it. And if we can't do all 4, we start with 2. They're roughly, let's say, around $2 million each. So we'd have to do a ban, but we should get started and deal with the ban. Now, I know that if we do a ban, that's interest rates, and that affects the tax cap. Yeah, the taxes. It's all very convoluted, but we have to start thinking about it and planning. We just can't keep putting it off, saying, how are we going to fund it?
Susan, I'm sorry. Just please don't assume that it's being put off and no one's looking at it, because we are. Dan's been in touch with Bond Council, with the Environmental Facilities Corporation, trying to look at what's out there, the different things, and we are looking at it on pretty much a daily basis and waiting for some answers back.
Well, wait,
It's
because
disingenuous.
we've got the 5.8. So
I know we
if
do.
we have to borrow, I think there could be low interest loans through EFC. But
There might be no interest loans through EFC is what we're researching. And before you go for the 10 million with East of Hudson,
that's a separate issue.
they do know that we are actively pursuing the plans. We had our meeting the other day, and
meeting with who?
With Westchester Water Consortium. It's basically the ones who control the money on that. Warren Lucas is the head.
No, it's the County Board of Legislators that controls it now. The supervisor group has done the authorization. I want to say a dozen years ago for the $10 million.
But we still vote on where the money's going, and that has been. Everyone is very well aware that we're moving forward.
Yeah, they're those two separate issues, and as long as we're talking sewers, I just want to say that we have to discuss what we're doing with the bid that was that came in December for the Peekskill I&I, which again is money, but we just have to start. We have to discuss it, and I thank you if you're discussing it with staff, but I would certainly, as one of the board members, like to be kept informed about what is happening, because you know these are issues that are a concern with me.
Feel free to call my office anytime, Susan.
I just need updates. On the 485B, I think you have said many times that we need to review it, and I think we do need to review it, whether it's reconstituting the advisory committee or it's just a board discussion, but I think there are issues. I'm absolutely delighted that all of these new stores, you know, have been coming to Yorktown and that businesses are finding Yorktown desirable. But I don't think that filling up the vacant stores is a separate issue to giving the owner, the landowner, a tax break, unless he's negotiating, you know, lower rents because he's getting a tax break. I don't know. But they're two separate issues. And certainly if Yorktown is desirable, then that's the reason why maybe we don't need an incentive, because it's a desirable place and they're going to come here. But we've talked about the need for a review, and I think it's time we did a more formal review.
Susan, have you ever heard of Lake Caldor?
I was here, I lived here when I remembered the trucks coming with the piles.
Right.
Okay, so I was here a long, long time ago.
Right.
But
I
think-
sailed in that parking lot.
right.
I was
So-
on the
so
front
Susan,
page.
I
remember
will
when
ju-
it was. I remember when it was being built. I'm here 54
I will
years.
just say that the investment made, just even with Uncle Giuseppe's, to make it so your carts didn't disappear when you turned around, is immense. And you know, it's really easy to say, oh my God, we gave them back half of their new tax for the first year and 45% for the second year. And we're not looking at the half that we got or the 55% the second. And we're not looking at the jobs they brought. We're not looking at the fact that these landlords, you know what, they have to do a ton of work to make it happen. And it's an investment, and maybe they'll make their money back. Maybe they won't. You know what? But they need some type of footing to start, the first rung of the ladder at least.
To say
With all due
that
respect.
they are two separate issues, you are 100% accurate. To allude to the fact that you say that you're alluding that they're not connected, and that's misguided. You're misguiding people. Of course they're connected.
With
One
all
leads
due
to the other, and
respect
I'm
to,
sorry
bo-
for
to
interrupting you.
both your comments, okay, this is not a way to decide which way we're going. I think we need to set aside a time where we talk about this and we go back and forth and we look at numbers and we can have a more detailed review and talk about your jobs issue, talk about would they come here, all of the issues. This is not an appropriate way to be responding to somebody who made a 3-minute comment in courtesy of the floor, and we're going through the same thing over and over and over again. I'd like to move on.
But you're going over the same thing over and over again. And I've responded.
Well, your
I've
comments
responded
have
the
been
same-
over and over again, the same comments.
And they have been. And I've had the conversations with Larry offline as well.
Are we going to have a review committee or not? You've alluded to the.
I am looking for the members right now.
All right.
So
The other thing is, Dan, I'm not clear on what you were getting at when you talked about market rate and affordable. If you were saying that we should have some affordable, you're not saying that. I think people who don't remember, we had an affordable housing ordinance in Yorktown, 2011. It was a very, very modest requirement. It was for what a developer had to do. At the time the law was in effect, no one was building. We were still coming out of a recession. It was repealed in 2016. Now we're having all this activity and we don't have any affordable housing law. So I think this is a time to talk about whether Yorktown needs enough. I don't think there's any question that we need some affordable housing. And by affordable, I'm talking about roughly people who can pay 80% of the median income. So we're talking a family of four who's a 4-person household would be roughly an income of, I think, about $120,000. Is that about right, Ken? Roughly 100. 100%. So we're talking, let's say, a family of 4. We're talking many town employees. Okay, if there's only one earner, if they're earning $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, and they're a family of 4, could not afford a housing here. One other thing, Mark, in terms of your parking issue, I think he has left. Oh, I'm sorry, you're there. I confess I have to go back and I have to look at Section 183 because I don't know the exact words, and I don't know exactly what the requirement is. I know many, many years ago, we did work on limiting commercial vehicles parking in residential zones. So I think you've already gotten the concern from the supervisor and the town attorney and others that we will look at that and to see if something has to be changed in the law, or are they violating the current code, or does the code have to be changed? And until I read Section 183, I can't answer that question. But thank you for bringing it up. All right. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move forward to resolutions.
Public hearing.
Public hearing, I'm sorry. Let's go to public hearings. So we have some, we have 2 decisions. The proposed local law to amend Chapter 300 Town Code of Town of Yorktown entitled Zoning regarding a tobacco control law. Adam, the highlight?
It's just restricting what can be sold within 1,500 feet of enumerated areas, schools, playgrounds, etc.
So, gentlemen?
No
Sorry.
tobacco.
Thank you.
No tobacco or tobacco-related products.
Right. So basically what we're doing is we're making the sale of tobacco and tobacco-related products more restrictive to not allow them near churches, schools, all places of worship and places where children gather. So can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So our next decision on is a proposed local law to amend Chapter 280 of the Town Code Town of Yorktown entitled Water regarding water meters and water rates. And this is the discussion with the increases to supplies, increases to labor, increases to everything that really deals with the infrastructure. Like right now, painting one of our water tanks is practically $1 million. The costs have gone up astronomically, so we spoke about needing to have a 20-cent per gallon, per 1,000-gallon charge added into the water rates for capital improvements. And also the prices of our water have gone up. A matter of fact, the last supervisor to raise the rates on water is sitting in the audience with Lonnie. And it was, 10 years before that? And right now we are at, that was 18, right? So we're 7 years further with before another raise. We are definitely nowhere near the highest in the area for our water rates. But it's unfortunately an essential thing because it's costing us more money for the water, more money for the repairs, more money for the tanks, and so on and so forth. And a lot of these rates we don't have anything to say. Like Northern Westchester Joint Waterworks, it's an automatic 3 to 5% increase every year.
Every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
So we hold off as long as we can, and we have the raise now.
I'd also like to add that that as part of that local law, there are requirements about meter testing.
We already passed that, didn't we?
No, that's part of the law.
Thank you. You are correct.
And even before we vote, once the law becomes effective, I would hope that the water department will get those letters out ASAP.
They're in legal for improvement, so
All right, so
for
they
being
get out.
approved. Yep.
Especially the commercial water meters haven't been tested in over 30 years, and you can bet your dollar that they're not accurate.
And I am going to sit here and I'm going to place that blame directly on Lonnie and Susan.
Well, if it's 30 years, it goes back to Dante Spadesha, probably.
There you go.
All right.
So, can I have a motion on the amending? Second.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now we get to move to resolutions. The first one I'm going to read came out of closed with some personnel. And there are actually four, but these are all probationary period ending. Be it resolved that Mark Rapisarda, Lieutenant for the Police Department, job class code 0132-01, has completed the minimum probationary period and is hereby granted permanent status effective March 5th, 2025. Be it resolved that Michael Tillestrand, Sergeant for the Police Department, job class code 0133-01, has completed the minimum probationary period and is hereby granted permanent status effective March 5th, 2025. Be it resolved that John Dougherty, Sergeant for the Police Department, job class code 0133-01, has completed the minimum probationary period and is hereby granted permanent status effective March 5th, 2025. And be it resolved that Thomas Murphy, Sergeant for the Police Department, job class code 0133-01, has completed the minimum probationary period and is hereby granted permanent status effective March 5th, 2025.
Not related.
Not related? Okay. And just for a little clarification, usually our PD has gone to the full extent of probation, but these officers have already done that once. They are coming through again, and this allows us to backfill their positions with experienced law enforcement officers and what's called a resignation reinstatement if someone wants to leave another job and come here. So this gives us the opportunity to not only get a seasoned officer, who we have our investigative team looking at a few right now, but it also allows us to get them out on the road quicker. So they have less of a training course. They don't have to go to the academy. So there are a lot of great things that this does, but it also prevents a lot of police overtime. So I appreciate our chief being very proactive, and all four of these gentlemen have been doing a phenomenal job. So there's no question at all that these should be made permanent. So congratulations. Once we get a motion and a second and a vote.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Congratulations on coming off probation, gentlemen. All right. For resolutions, from the Building and Maintenance Department, authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with David A. Tetro, Architect, P.C., to provide architectural services for the inspection and repair of the cornice at the Albert A. Capellini Community and Cultural Center in the amount of $6,500, and that is a crumbling of the old concrete that some had fallen by the stairs. That's why the front of that building is blocked off. From the Highway Department, authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer for the Highway Department, and that is $124,733.90, which is for the purchase and installation of the 6,000-gallon Convault tank and accessories. We're going to extend the bid with Yorktown Auto Body, Inc. for towing and emergency repair services of a vehicle for an additional period of 12 months. From the Finance Department, authorize the town comptroller to pay David Dougherty the cash value of unused time as of his date of retirement, and that's a total amount of $21,301.04. And be it further resolved that the comptroller is hereby authorized to transfer the funds for the purpose of this payout at retirement as enumerated below. From the Parks and Recreation Department, authorize the following obsolete vehicle equipment to be sold at auction for the Parks and Recreation Department. And that is a 2012 F-350 utility body, estimated value of $3,500. From the Planning Department, authorized Transpo Group USA, Inc. to perform a traffic review for the proposed Poggioreale site plan. Close enough. And that is up by the corner of 132 and Downing, where there's a proposed childcare facility. From the supervisor's office, the first one was actually done already back in January, where we took that, so apologize for having that on again. And thank you for finding it, Diana.
That was Susan.
Okay, thank
I
you,
remember
Susan.
voting against it, that's why.
There you go. From the town attorney, authorize the supervisor to sign a stormwater control facility maintenance agreement with Marcel Prela. Authorize the supervisor to sign an indemnity agreement with Lake Mohegan Mansion LLC.
You want to explain why that's necessary?
So that is a construction site. There's at the end of the rainbow. There's supposed to be some land dedicated to the parks. The deed was being held sort of in escrow until the project was complete. The attorney on record was Al Capolini, who unfortunately passed away. About a year later, the thought is that his wife came across it, cleaning out the office, filed it, and it ended up getting filed. So now that the town has ownership by deed, we are having a hold harmless signed while he finishes the job in case anyone gets hurt or injured on site.
But also, there are trucks and cars parked on the land at this point, even though it's town-owned land.
Correct,
So
because it's a construction site.
in the middle of a construction site. We understand that, Susan. And that's why we want the.
Well, the construction is taking place on the other side of the stone wall. This is land that the site plan calls for the developer to construct recreational facilities from a 2016 resolution.
Correct. He has yet to construct the recreation or whatever happens there, so he has his
He hasn't finished the
vehicles
site
there.
work yet.
That's right, but right now
that it's under the town property because this happened, which is still a very sensitive topic, and we're all researching it. I think even the town clerk, everyone's researching it. It now needs an indemnify so that we can protect our property due to the
Well,
That's right.
protect the town.
I just wanted
Protect the town.
it clarified that there's no construction being done on the site now. That is just a question of the wording.
All right. From the Water Department, approve and adopt the updated master fee schedule dated March 4th, 2025. And I think you had copies of that, Diana. But there is also, for some reason, there were a couple that missed it. The legal review land use matters. There was a there.
These are basically the same.
Well, there was one fee that went up from $250 to $500 for the legal review of all area variance applications. There were two new ones, which was initial legal review of all SECRA documents and the initial legal review of all other applications, which follow along with the rates that we have for other initial legal review. And there's a asterisk for how many of these apply for this?
They're all the real change, the significant change that it makes it clear that this is just for initial review. So anything over 5 hours of review time, the applicant will be responsible for what the town is responsible for, which is $275 an hour.
All right.
Which is a bargain compared to the rack rate for legal fees, I assume.
That
for this?
and how every other town does it.
All right.
Other attorneys would be charging the standard rate.
Yeah, like $500-600.
I think there are problems. We were just given this as we sat down here today at 7:30. I had not seen this, even though for years I've been talking about that we've had these legal fees in the master fee schedule, and they've never been charged for years. Every December I raise it at a budget hearing, but I have some issues with this. The way it's written, it is not clear. For example, the asterisk doesn't necessarily say it applies to all initial fees. That's number one. If you count up that the first 5 hours of any of these reviews is going to be free for any type of review, whether it's a deed, a stormwater permit, a variance.
It's not free. There's a fee on it. There's a
It's
fee of
not free.
$1,000. It's a little less than
Well,
the.
but that's not clear. What?
I think it's pretty. Yeah, it's clear. This is how the whole fee schedule and the rest of it. It shows the
Trying to find
the
the
action
And
and
the-
the cost.
But if it's $275,
It
I
says
have a
the
lot of-
initial legal review of resolutions, the first line is $1,000. After that, it's $275 an hour for 5 hours. So it's
All out.
1,000 plus however many hours you use on top of that.
After 5 hours.
So each of these
Up to 5
fees are going to be a base fee, even if it takes 1 hour. The fee is going to be for a legal review of a subdivision application, $1,000. And anything,
Yeah, that's what the fee is now.
and that's going to be the fee that's charged. And all hours after that will be billed at $275.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Got it.
The only real addition is that for some reason, last time around, the 5-hour mark did not make it onto the chart.
There was never anything there. So,
is it clearer now, though? I mean,
yeah, can it make sure that that asterisk applies to everything? It's not clear when I looked at it originally.
We'll put the asterisk on everything, okay, Adam? So,
Okay.
all right.
Because
I sent it to the clerk, she has the master document, she can put, I could do it, whatever.
At the bottom of the document, it says.
Can we please
Insert
put an
7
an
asterisks.
asterisk next, to,
But
like
the
after
asterisk
initial
is only
on
after one.
everything?
On all of these?
On all of them.
We'll do it. It's
So
not a big deal.
these are basic fees, and I hope that once it's adopted, that we will actually start charging the people for it. Otherwise,
I've had quite a few people complain to me since I've taken over upstairs that we have been charging it. So,
I wasn't on the board when
it's
they were.
escrowed
when they-
into fees.
Yep.
And I just want to note that the reason why this came onto the agenda was to coincide with the water department's
Right.
change in their fees. This was added afterwards.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so just make sure that it has that, and we start charging all the fees for all of these things that we're doing. Thank you.
All right, so this will cover the fees for the water meter testing as well. That's what the main hearing was about. Let me just read them out real quick. All right, so in the water department, the changes here, there's a non-compliance meter testing fees. For first notice is nothing, second notice is 25, third notice residential is 100, and then you have a second notice for commercial at $250. Third notice commercial surcharge per day per meter, not to exceed $5,000 per meter added to the next water bill. Then a reoccurring surcharge of $1,000 per meter added to the water bill per billing cycle until it is in compliance. And the reason those sound high is when you have a supermarket, a restaurant, business like that, they use a tremendous amount of water. Then we have for commercial water testing. So Susan had mentioned they hadn't been tested in 30 years. Back when Supervisor Slater was on the board, we were looking to bring someone in to do the testing, and COVID hit. They wouldn't come out, and then afterwards they basically have been like, we have enough business where we are. We're not coming up to Yorktown. And we had to think outside the box, and I give kudos to Paul, our superintendent of water distribution, said, you know what, Ed, we can train our people to do it in-house, actually do it cheaper than what they would be charging, and save the residents and the commercials some money. So we trained our people, we bought the equipment, and we are ready to go. And getting it done. So there's the commercial testing fees is at $100 per inch, as enumerated in there. That was new, and there's residential census AMR, positive displacement meter testing, of $75 for 3/4 and $100 for 1 inch. What that is if people want to keep water displacement meters, which are different than the electronic metering that we utilize, they can, but because they're mechanical, they need to be tested on an annual basis. If someone says, gee, I don't want to pay that, they could get the new electronic meter absolutely free, installed, ready to go. So it's our water department will install it, and we just have to be cognizant of the fact that faulty meters are out there, and that it is not an appropriate thing to let it go, because everyone should be treated equally in the billing cycles. So we're hoping that this, people keep going over to the new electronic meters instead of paying $100 a year to do a test, or the $75 a year to do the test. If their meter fails and they still do not want the new meter, they can get a displacement meter, but they would have to buy that at the cost to the town. We would not charge them anything additional, but then they would have to go through the whole testing process every year still. And I think that was the gist of everything.
Mm-hmm.
The meter rental fee, similar to cable boxes and all those fun things we have. There's repair and maintenance. There's batteries that are quite expensive for these. Sometimes the transmission signal needs to be redone. So there'd be a $5 per meter per billing cycle added on that as well, and that'll cover your meters when needed.
And also let them know that, like, the meters can't be fixed; they have to be replaced.
Yes.
And the replacement is free.
Yeah. So that basically what that does, and thank you, Patrick. If a meter cracks or goes bad, it's garbage. It's impossible to repair them now. We come and we give you a new meter, so you get your investment out of it when they go. I think that's it. We spoke about the other things in the law. So can I have a motion on everything?
Adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank
Good
you,
night,
Yorktown.
Yorktown.
Thank you all for sticking it out.